All right. No, what do you think? Ready to get started?
Let's get started.
All right. Cool. So thanks for joining, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share the results of this in a second here. My name's Aaron Bennett. I'm in our corporate development department here at ServiceNow, and I'm very happy to have joining me Lorenzo Monica and Noah Campbell, our presenters from BlackBerry. We're here to talk about how you can leverage the new integration with BlackBerry UEM in ServiceNow to automate all sorts of things. So I'll let Noah, really give you the overview of that. But first, a couple of quick slides to go through. So if you could click ahead, just quick safe harbor notice on all the information here, so that we are covered from that perspective. Go ahead and click again. Just so you know, this is part of a series of live on ServiceNow events that we do here in our ServiceNow community. So if you have any interest in any other events, just go ahead and scan that QR code. You can get a link to our schedule. We hope to obviously have a great event for you today. And one more. Quickly on the format, we will be following along with Q&A throughout the event. We'll also make sure to read out those questions at the end. So if we answer your question in context, Noah may pause and answer it if it's really, in the flow of the discussion, or we may just hold it, answer it on chat, and then return to it at the end so that, if there's any follow-ups, we can discuss there. This event will be recorded and posted to our ServiceNow community after the fact. It exists on our YouTube channel. And we'll also have a survey question about halfway through to make sure if there is any interest in a follow-up that we can arrange that for you after the fact. So with that, we'll go ahead and share the results here. And Noah, what do you think? It looks like we have, by and large, ServiceNow technical users here today. So
Right.
just the audience, I think we're hoping to see, take interest in the integration, because this is available for immediate testing and use. So if you're interested in trying it out afterwards, that's really the point, is to kind of wet your whistle a little bit, show you the demo, and then work with you on actually leveraging the what you already have in the house today. So go ahead
Great.
there.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. Great to see, many ServiceNow users on the call. So fantastic. Thanks for the intro. I'm Noah Campbell. I'm on BlackBerry's Elite Customer Success team. We're supporting, of course, BlackBerry's top customers and other strategic initiatives and opportunities, including this partnership and integration with ServiceNow. I'm broadcasting to you live from Windsor, Ontario, Canada. But hello to you wherever you are in the world. And whatever time zone, whether you're watching this live or on the recording. So lots for us to talk about. We're going to focus primarily on BlackBerry UEM and, of course, the integration with ServiceNow. I'll give you a little bit of an overview of UEM if you're unfamiliar, and then we'll talk about how we now, interoperate with ServiceNow. So not here to announce or talk about a new phone, unfortunately. If that's what you're here for, you can head on out now. But stay, learn about what we're doing today, and excited to take you through that. So first, let's talk about BlackBerry UEM. The UEM marketplace and the UEM landscape is kind of a vast sea of different vendors and solutions and things like that. But BlackBerry really pioneered the UEM marketplace. If you remember a solution called Bez that was used to provision BlackBerry handsets back in the day, Bez eventually morphed and transformed into UEM. And UEM today manages many endpoints under the sun to prioritize high security and high productivity. But we know that the kind of IT endpoint landscape is growing in complexity. And we know that you have many tools to manage many devices. So we really, look to seasoned vendors like ServiceNow and BlackBerry, who can work together to kind of cut down on operational, work and needs, and really drive some efficiency. So as we see it, the UEM market complications that would exist without BlackBerry, and do exist in scenarios where we're not seeing BlackBerry, really comes down to bundled or layered mobile solutions, which create security vulnerabilities. You're buying some solution to cover some aspect of a product, and then some other solution because that one solution didn't have quite everything you needed, so you had to go buy something else to layer on top of that. And as we're layering all these things, we're going to have gaps, and we're going to have different areas where you have security vulnerabilities because you don't have a comprehensive solution. So this is kind of our view of the world when BlackBerry is not a part of it. This creates a really unmanageable attack surface, right? We have threats coming at us on all angles, both from zero-day on mobile malware, but also, lateral movement through our devices. And that's something that, of course, adds cost, adds time, adds a lot of headache in our day-to-day. And all this really boils down to, at times, is an inability to accommodate workplace needs and behaviors, right? We now have globally distributed workforces. I'm talking to you from home, but I travel to our offices very frequently. Lorenzo, who's on our call on our elite customer success team, is joining you live from an office. There's a whole bunch of new and kind of hybrid, workplace needs and behaviors that we need to accommodate. And you need to be able to have security while also accommodating those things. To me, they are equal, right? We need to balance these needs. You can't have one without the other. So we really try to work towards balancing that. And we think we can with the solution that we have. And we've actually proven that in a few different ways. We know that there's an optimal approach to endpoint management. Right? We know that we can take a poor security posture, hidden costs and gaps, and turn that into comprehensive, innovative, and cost-effective security. We know that we can take the increasing risk from evolving attack surface complexity and actively defend against live cyber threats and provide the cryptographic separation of work and personal data, right? My phone that I use every day, it is not a BlackBerry. It is an iPhone with BlackBerry software on it, right? And that creates a work container that lives on my phone and securely stores all of my work data, my important work data, in one container that lives on the phone that I use for both work and personal. Right. And what's important about that is the idea that, I could hack a phone OS, whether it's iOS, whether it's Android. These have their own vulnerabilities. They have their own exploits and these kinds of things. But I'm never going to get into that BlackBerry Dynamics container, which we use to provide that cryptographic separation of work and personal data. So what we need is the ability to manage these containers. And we really want to do that seamlessly. And that's what you're going to see with what we do through our ServiceNow integration. And we can take this kind of poor user experience, poor productivity, and a lack of privacy and turn it into secure productivity, both with the bring your own device model or the corporate owned model with personal data on it, or a totally managed device anywhere, anytime access. So regardless of if we're in rural, remote areas, if we're working on the battlefield, if we are, again, that globally distributed workforce can be enabled with high security and high productivity. That's the optimal approach that we see in the UEM landscape and as the pioneers of the UEM marketplace. And, don't take my word for it. I hope you do, but don't just take my word for it. We have the perspective of our customers talking about this. Right. What's super validating for us is the Gartner Peer Insights Customers Choice 2023 report. This is, of course, the voice of customers, not necessarily analysts. And, we're the only vendor that was in that top right Customers Choice quadrant for Customers Choice and UEM for 2023. And this really, to us, is a culmination of a history of pioneering the UEM marketplace. We've kept it innovative. We've brought in modern integrations like what you're going to see here today with ServiceNow. And we've been able to balance high productivity and high security since BES, since even before BES, right? And this is what's really exciting to us, is that we have that validation from our customers, kind of reaffirming that. So really excited when this slide comes. You're going to see it in every presentation I've ever given since we got this, because it's such a great validator. But breaking that down a little more, if you don't want to take that just at face value for itself and run with it, I'll give you some more reasons why you should be using BlackBerry UEM. It really comes down to the three major buckets for us: the best of breed security, the cost-effective simplicity, and secure productivity. When we look at best of breed security, what does that mean? BlackBerry UEM has the most government security certifications of any UEM on the market, and it's certified for classified or unclassified use. It's trusted by 17 out of 20 G20 governments, also listed in NATO App Store, right? So what's critically important about that is that if it can fit in those really high security use cases, we feel that it can fit in the high security use cases of your business as well. It's what I talked about earlier, that cryptographic separation of work and personal data with no reliance on the host operating system to secure data at rest or in transit. I don't care anything about the operating system because I'm putting that secure work container on the device. We've got advanced jailbreak and root detection. We know that if somebody's going to, load something bad on the phone, they're going to try to jailbreak first, or as part of their process. They're going to try to root the device if it's an Android device. So we really want to keep a close eye on that. And of course, we do with BlackBerry UEM. Native security and threat protection without expensive add-ons. So we have a built-in mobile threat defense tool as part of our UEM. And this automatically, what's really, really cool about this is that it automatically is provisioned onto the phone. So a user doesn't even need to sign in. If it's approved for the use of that device, it'll be loaded onto the phone and it just does its job. It's part of our acquisition of the company Cylance, which is an AI-based cybersecurity company, which we purchased some years ago and have now kind of fully meshed into our offerings across our organization. So all of this exists as well. This data protection and the built-in DRM, all without the need for a separate VPN. Because the BlackBerry infrastructure is trusted through our BlackBerry NOC over many years of kind of innovation and partnership, we're able to operate our UEM without needing to put all of our, personal and work data and all the organizational data behind a VPN and living on the public internet. We know that a threat actor is going to try to move laterally throughout an organization, and they're going to find the smallest little crack on the public internet to try to go in and do their, nefarious activities. So from our perspective, all you need to do is open up a port on a firewall and allow data to transfer back and through the BlackBerry NOC, which comes with its own, history and pedigree of really trusted security. What's really cool about that, of course, is the level of technical and security complexity built into there. And it's trusted by governments and enterprises across regulated industries to stay connected. In terms of the cost-effective simplicity, we've got less infrastructure required to actually manage UEM. So you don't need to be adding on different security components. Like we talked about the VPN, for example. We talked about other technical add-ons. We can deploy it very easily with a very consistent user interface and security across the supported devices. And that amount of supported devices is, it spans iOS, Android, but also laptop devices, desktop devices, Mac OS and Windows, and even Chromebooks through Chrome OS, for example. We've got the flexibility to deploy in the cloud, on-prem, or as a managed or unmanaged service. So if you want to run this all securely in our cloud, you've got the opportunity to do that. If you want to run this on-prem, you've got the opportunity to do that. If you want it totally managed, we can do that also. Again, battle tested and reliable in those very complex environments, both government, military, high security use cases of banks. So we can, on the secure productivity side, we're of course promoting user privacy, user experience and satisfaction. Across the board, we can integrate with Microsoft 365, Google Workspaces, and many other apps. We've got advanced controls and granular application management, policy management, and compliance management. And then with this, we also have a secure and native email browser and web browser apps. First, you could build a whole intranet off of this, for example, if you wanted to, all through UEM. So I have some examples of use cases here. This is kind of a matrix that we use to kind of combine it all together depending on your own setup. So depending on the endpoint you want to use, you've got options. You've got ownership models that you can leverage as well, different ownership models, right? So in some examples, you want to have employees bring their own devices and just have the work container living on that device. And then you want to be able to have control of only what's in the work container. So the example I'm going to show you later on with ServiceNow is that we're able to wipe a work container. Let's say if the employee maybe lost the phone, or maybe they don't know password, the phone's been compromised, all kinds of, maybe they're just, leaving the company, for example, all kinds of different, scenarios where this could be useful, where you want to eliminate work data off of an endpoint. We can have that kind of ownership model, but while still maintaining user privacy. So I can't see anything that goes on outside of the work container as the administrator, right? I don't know anything on their personal phone. I can't read their messages. I can't do anything. It's all cryptographically separated. So I can only manage what's happening in the work container, the corporate data that I own, through the BYOD. That's all very, very manageable. It's a very common use case. It's the use case I have personally while working through BlackBerry. But we also have other use cases, right? I talked about the corporate owned, personally enabled. So you've got a corporate owned device, but with personal data on it. If you want to be able to maintain user privacy, you can still do that on a corporate owned device. And then you have examples, which we see a lot in the government, in highly regulated industries, where it's a totally managed device. No personal data on there. It's all work data. It's totally managed. We can go as far as disabling, the camera, for example, based on where we're standing in different areas of a building, very, very granularly. We can, send different messages to the phone regarding compliance, load these compliance profiles. So if we detect that maybe the phone's been jailbroken, we can lock down use of the device, whether that means if it's a bring your own device, whether that means locking down the actual work data or the entire device until the threat's been remediated. Really a lot of kind of mix and match on here, right? A lot of mix and match based off of what is best for the organization, what's being mandated perhaps by your customers. Whatever it is, we can generally try to find a combination of this and then, apply the ServiceNow integration based off of, your needs and the common kind of use cases and setups in your organization. So a lot of flexibility here. As we look at security certifications, I won't spend all day on this because it's just a lot of acronyms. But of course, highlighting the most security certifications of any UEM. So across FedRAMP, DISA, NATO's NIAP, the common criteria, all that good stuff. Both UEM and our Silence portfolio. And we're actually the only vendor that has the EA4 plus certification for containerization. So the work data, the kind of the foundation of everything I've been talking about, the idea of being able to put a work container, we're the only ones that are actually certified to be able to do that to the highest levels of security, which is why I emphasize it so much. And this is all built on a trusted ecosystem, right? We have a lot of interoperability with our with partners across Adobe, across Movius. AWS is our preferred secure cloud partner, Awingu, but also of course I'm here talking with ServiceNow, so we're going to have a lot of time to drill down on the ServiceNow related stuff. So I'm going to move into what is this actual integration that we've done with ServiceNow. Right. So this is available in the ServiceNow Store, and this automates tasks, including user activations, policy configurations, device commands, and more. So as I think about the day in and day out activities of managing a UEM kind of environment, there's a lot that we do because you have so many granular options. You want to be able to live and have a lot of different kind of management ability. But that can be a lot if you're managing, ServiceNow, you've got your BlackBerry UEM, you've got a bunch of other tools that you're using. You really want to be able to kind of streamline those operations, especially if you're one of only maybe a few admins in a very large organization or a large department. I can imagine how many tabs you have open day to day, different windows. You got to log into the incognito so you can, test on one device. And I can only imagine what the day to day of admin has been. Even in preparing demos, we see that there's a lot there. So we really want to make this as easy as possible and help you consolidate some of your tools while still extracting all of these security and productivity benefits that I just spent the first kind of portion of this webinar talking about. So really what's cool here is if I were to drill down a little more, this is integrating ServiceNow Workflow Designer, which is really cool drag and drop kind of process tool that I've come to get really familiar with over the course of this work together. And the BlackBerry UEM API to reduce that administrative burden on IT teams while maintaining all those security things we talked about. So because we're able to communicate securely through ServiceNow, that security is translated over into the day-to-day of ServiceNow. So you're not going to have issues with, okay, I had all these great security outcomes, all these great productivity outcomes, but now I'm adding more things in there and it compromises the security. No, this is all part of that trusted infrastructure that all talks to each other very securely without needing to worry about data leaving, the kind of both the infrastructure, but also the flow of how to actually do activities. The data never leaves that kind of vault or the container. So we don't need to worry about, compromising on security when we're having some of these consolidation tools. What's really cool here is that security is now becoming kind of an enabler instead of a blocker, right? Before security had been kind of a blocker. I can't do that because it's not secure. I can't use these kinds of emails or these apps because they're not secure. Now it's I can have this integration because of the security, and that's a really cool shift to be able to see. So again, we're taking the UEM API, we're putting that with the ServiceNow Flow Designer. Flow Designer is the foundation of all of this. So you work in Flow Designer to create the different options that you want to have. We have a bunch of supported use cases, and I'll get to them here. But the UEM API makes calls to all these different things, whether it's activating an activation profile and generating an activation password, adding a user to a group, assigning an IT policy profile. You want to create an application profile, manage admin roles, retrieve the devices assigned to a user, delete a user entirely. So thinking about onboarding, offboarding, for example. The ability to manage the container itself, so deleting that device data, enabling workspaces, enabling lost mode, locking devices, locking workspaces, resetting workspace passwords. I can do all this both as an admin if I want to in ServiceNow and UEM, or I can create tickets that allow users to do some of these activities themselves, right? How many emails do you want to be getting saying, hey, I need to change my password? None. That's annoying. So let the user do it themselves, and we can still do that securely with BlackBerry UEM and ServiceNow working together. So I'm going to take 2 seconds here. I know Aaron has a poll for you, just if we can send you some additional information on this before I move into, I'm going to do I've got a couple more slides, and then we're going to talk about the demo. But I know I want to be conscious of the timing here. So I know Aaron has a poll for you on that, which is great. Yep.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, the purpose of this poll is for anyone interested to get a follow-up with the BlackBerry team. So if you have both products and you want to try this out, believe the integration is free of charge in the store. This would be a way to for me to get you their information so that we can do that. So I'll leave this up for a moment and then let you continue, Noah, onto the demo.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, good point too. I don't know if I mentioned it. It is a free integration. It's already available and certified in the ServiceNow store, both by BlackBerry and by ServiceNow, and it's totally free if you're already using both products. So, great point. Awesome. So as we look at, again, I really want to emphasize how easy from a technical perspective this actually is. This Flow Designer tool is a real game changer because you can drag and drop and build all these kind of options. And because we've already loaded the BlackBerry UEM API into here, you're able to have the kind of actions provided by BlackBerry UEM. They're already baked into Flow Designer, but you can go ahead and work with us on creating other ones that you might find useful, or other functions that we could do with the UEM API, for example. So a lot of really cool stuff there that we can look at. And I'm going to show you an example very shortly of one of the device actions we can take with both ServiceNow and BlackBerry UEM. So first, I just want to cover really quickly what's actually required here to do the work and to have these things talking together. So you're going to use the certified and free integration on the ServiceNow Store, but you need BlackBerry UEM on premise. You need to use a ServiceNow management, instrumentation, and discovery, or mid server. And you need the ServiceNow Integration Hub Starter Pack installer. All of this information is listed in the actual integration itself and kind of what you need of each of these components to talk to each other. It's very easy to get set up. And then instead of actually processing requests manually in UEM, you're going to use the ServiceNow spokes in the Flow Designer to communicate with the UEM API. So you'll go ahead and kind of pre-bake all the ones that you think you want to use. And of course, you can add more later. If you think of another really exciting use case, you can kind of go through different actions and really kind of work with your users on this. A lot of the times when we're talking about introducing new functions or new kind of abilities or just new stuff into an organization, I generally say to put together a focus group, especially if you have a large organization, of different user personas. So maybe you have some people from finance, you have some people from HR, you have some technical people, maybe they're developers, you have some system administrators, and you get them together and you kind of do this little focus group and have them work with this stuff for a week. and see how it fits. And that way you can use that time to think of, okay, there's other use cases we want to do, or there's other functions we want to add. So really go for that and see what functions you want to bake in before rolling this out into the world. But of course, know that using the Flow Designer and the UEM API, it's very easy to kind of add more or move more as you go through. And then you'll use the spokes with the Flow Designer to compose the workflows and automate the UEM processes. If it sounds, very easy, it's because it is. And it really takes only about a couple clicks. So I'm going to take you through right now on the demo one of the actual actions we can take. So this is a Google Pixel 4. This is what I use for demos that I just have. So you can see UEM is installed on the device. This is just some information about the UEM installation. So this is my work container, right? UEM client, access, and work are the work containers. And now as I go through the ServiceNow Flow Designer, I can see different actions that I've baked in, all kinds of different actions, but we're going to talk about the wipe applications action. So this has been baked in. It gets triggered by me updating or creating an incident. So I'm going to create an incident right here. I'm doing a test version of this just so you can see it. Obviously, in real life, you may have some different things that you punch in based on your own best practices. The test was successful. So what does that mean to the actual device? Well, I locked it. I wiped the container. So I currently no longer have access to the container. And it's as simple as that. This all happened remotely from the device itself. All I did, I'll go back really quick so you can see, because it moves very quickly, but we have the device, we have our work container, it's all running and wonderful and successful. Maybe I'm either going to start an incident or I'm going to, indicate as the user, for example, right? Hey, I lost my device. I need you to wipe the work data, or I'm going to get a new device. I need to trade it in. I need you to wipe the work data. All that kind of stuff, whatever the standard kind of use case for that is, depending on the situation. All they needed to do was create an incident, which they could have done also as a self-service ticket from an end user perspective, or the administrator can do. Right? It depends how your organization wants to set it up. And we're taking that granular management, both from the UEM side and from the ServiceNow side, to be able to have as many options as possible to your organization. So again, we're adding the data that we need to add. Of course, you probably have some organizational best practices when it comes to ServiceNow. This is certainly not it. This is what I just added for our demo, but we submit that, and just like that, it goes through. And then we can actually see the impact of that on the device immediately after the trigger happens, right? Immediately after that was triggered, the device, the container, the work container was wiped. But what's interesting, of course, is that the device itself would be unaffected in that ownership model, because that ownership model was the work and personal split. So only the work container was wiped. All my personal data still lives on that Google Pixel 4, and I can go on about my day. And that's really got a lot of flexibility in how we respect both our user privacy and the need for the organization to securely manage the device and enable productivity. So that's it from me, folks, on the presentation and the demo. Of course, that was just one action that you can take. We have the list earlier in the slides. I've got the list of supported use cases. We can add our users to our groups, and we can assign our IT policies and profiles, for example. But I really wanted you to see on the demo the actual device command that we can take, because that's that is a real benefit you get with that as a ServiceNow admin, is that you could take actions directly on devices without opening up UEM. You'll notice in the demo, that entire demo, you never actually saw UEM. I never opened it once, didn't need to, because I managed everything securely through ServiceNow. So that's it from me. Aaron, I don't know if you have any questions we want to get to, but I'll pass it right back to you.
Great. Yeah, thanks for everyone joining. So far, I don't see any questions in the chat. Let me check the Q&A. Let's see. All right. No, it looks like you've covered everything pretty well there, Noah. Right. So just as a reminder, everyone, this recording will be posted to our community after the fact. The application is available today in the ServiceNow store for anyone who's got BlackBerry UEM licenses. And ServiceNow, our workflow designer, obviously is available to all our platform users. So there's not a specific product limitation there. So welcome And we'll follow up with those of you who indicated as such on the questionnaire. And thanks again for attending today.
Great.
All right. And we're going to sign off. Thank you all. Have a good day.